The Force dictates who wins or loses based on balance. That was the sentiment expressed by Freddy Prince Jr., the voice actor of KANAN JARRUS of Rebels, during one of the most hilarious rants on Star Wars I have ever seen. My overall feelings towards this rant. But let's actually talk about what Freddy Prince Jr. is saying here, because I found it fascinating how clearly he breaks down how the Force works, and why people need to stop thinking of Star Wars as a video game power fantasy. In his explanation, he begins with Palpatine and Yoda representing the two smartest individuals on each side of the Force equation, dark and light. However, Freddy makes the claim that Palpatine is smarter than Yoda due to the fact that Yoda is blind to the power of the dark side and the seduction of Anakin Skywalker.
So let's talk about the seduction of Anakin Skywalker for a second.
Palpatine knew that the Force only operates on a basis of balance, so killing Anakin due to his allegiance with the Jedi would only result in the Force correcting itself again to attain balance. Knowing this, Palpatine chose to seduce Anakin to the dark side, which ultimately was successful, and then that doubled the strength of the dark side. Because of Anakin's seduction, the Force ends up balancing itself with twins of the Force, Luke and Leia, 2 and 2. Freddy Prince Jr. says that if you look at the entire saga through the simple lens of the Force maintaining balance, everything essentially becomes clear, and it's easy to understand why the good guys lose and the bad guys lose in their respective fights. He even states that, with this point of view, we can figure out how the final film will play out, but he doesn't want to spoil it for us. And this is where I come in. Here are some of my strange ideas based off of the logic that he's putting down that he says comes from Dave Filoni and George Lucas themselves. You all remember the sentiment Snoke expressed to Rey in The Last Jedi. Darkness rises and light to meet it. As Kylo rose in his strength and allegiance to the dark side, the Force corrected itself with Rey, an equal opposite force, a balance. This leaves us with Snoke, Luke, Kylo, and Rey, 2 teachers and 2 students. For now, Leia isn't factoring into my explanation just yet, but let's just say she seems to have brushed imminent death just like another Force user out there. So who dies in The Last Jedi? Snoke and Luke. Snoke dies at the hands of Kylo Ren, and through the lens of balance, within the throne room itself, you have 2 dark side Force users and 1 light side Force user. The Force decides Snoke's a bye-bye by virtue of Kylo Ren's choice, and then we are given this spectacle. But Snoke's death still allowed for another imbalance to occur, and that imbalance could be looked at now as Luke Skywalker. Although Luke could not physically get himself to the planet of Crate, he used the Force to transfer his likeness through space and time to confront his nephew Kylo Ren and to save the remaining resistance. Now we have Rey, Kylo Ren, and Luke, 2 light side Force users and 1 dark sider. Who dies? Luke Skywalker. So in this final film, we again seem to have 4 Force users: Leia, Rey, Kylo, and Palpatine. 2 light side users and 2 dark side users. Because Star Wars likes to rhyme with itself, I'll use Leia similarly to Yoda from Return of the Jedi. I think that she will train Rey a bit, and I think we've all pretty much surmised as much. But ultimately, I think Leia will pass away in The Rise of Skywalker. And if that happens, then the Force again becomes imbalanced. Now, the only way to correct itself is for Kylo Ren or Palpatine to die, or if Kylo Ren switches sides, for Rey or Palpatine to die. Now, knowing that Kylo Ren seems to teeter in the middle of the dark and light, I would find it fascinating if Rey and Palpatine die, bringing an end to the individual embodiment of light and dark. And then we just end with one individual who is the balance itself, and that person could be Ben Solo, the one who's been struggling with the light and dark this entire time. Now, I know that I've said a lot of things on how The Rise of Skywalker will go. I've made a lot of theories, and like everything else, take what I am saying with a gigantic, planet-sized grain of salt. But using this theory of balance really does make a lot of the previous fights and deaths make absolute sense. And that's it. I'm really curious as to what you guys took away from Freddy Prince Jr.'s rant. I understand that a lot of YouTube personalities think he is way off base and completely out of line, and that he doesn't get the fans, and that he's just a toxic employee. And that's hilarious to me. coming from the Brie Larson brigade. Remember, these are the same people who think Dave Filoni is a god. And the irony is that what Freddy Prince Jr. expressed is what Dave Filoni's understanding of the Force is, as taught by George Lucas himself. I guess at the end of the day, old George truly is a dirty SJW like the rest of us. So that's it. May the Force be with you. AT-AT Chat is signing off.